What if everything you've ever believed about love was a lie, carefully woven to keep you trapped? What if the heartbreak, the betrayal, the nights you lay awake wondering why you weren't enough were never your fault, but part of a system designed to break you? This isn't just a video. It's a reckoning, a cold, hard look at a truth most people are too afraid to face. 200 years ago, a philosopher named Arthur Schopenhauer saw your pain coming. His words aren't just a warning, they're a map to your survival. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear could save you from a lifetime of regret. Type "will" in the comments if you're ready to face the truth. The illusion of love. Picture a young man named Noah, full of hope, chasing the dream society sold him. Find the one, build a life, live happily ever after. He pours his heart, his time, his savings into relationships that promise forever. But by 35, he's divorced, financially ruined, emotionally hollow. His story isn't rare. You know a Noah. Maybe you are a Noah. This isn't a glitch, it's the system, working exactly as designed. Schopenhauer, with chilling precision, predicted this 2 centuries ago. In his work, The Metaphysics of Love, he doesn't just challenge the fairy tale of romance, he tears it apart. Love, he says, is no divine gift. It's a biological trick, a chemical illusion cooked up by nature to ensure the survival of the species. That rush of euphoria, that obsessive need to be near someone, that poetry you scribble at midnight. It's all a mirage, your brain's way of pushing you toward reproduction before reality crashes in. But here's where it gets darker. Modern society didn't just inherit this illusion, it turned it into a weapon. Schopenhauer warned that as women gained social power, a radical idea in his time, the dynamics of love would shift. What was once mutual duty would become transactional exploitation. He wrote, and I quote, "Women are directly adapted to act as the nurses and teachers of our childhood, precisely because they themselves are childish, frivolous, and short-sighted." Harsh words, no doubt. But before you dismiss them, let's step back to the 1850s. In Europe, a divorced man could lose his children, his property, his reputation overnight. His ex-wife, she faced no consequences. Schopenhauer called this the legalized robbery of male labor. Fast forward to today, and the numbers tell the same story. Women initiate 80% of divorces, and the average man loses half his assets in the process. Take Friedrich, a German merchant in the 19th century. He married a woman of good standing, only to discover she was secretly draining his accounts to fund her lover's business ventures. When he filed for divorce, the court sided with her, citing her fragile nature as justification. Friedrich died penniless in a workhouse. Now, swap 19th century Germany for a modern family court in New York or California. The story repeats. Men are stripped of homes, savings, and children, often for no reason beyond a vague, "I'm not happy." Schopenhauer's verdict: love isn't salvation, it's a setup, a trap designed to ensnare men in a system that thrives on their sacrifice. The weaponization of society. This trap runs deeper than you might think, woven into the very fabric of modern life. Psychology, social media, the legal system. They're not just complicit, they're engineered to keep men enslaved to a world that despises them. And the darkest truth of all, you've been trained to tighten your own chains. Don't turn away now, this is where the real awakening begins. Schopenhauer saw it coming, writing with terrifying clarity. The more a man is imbued with the knowledge of his own worth, the more he must resist the tyranny of women. Not partnership, not love, tyranny. From the moment you were born, you've been told your masculinity is toxic, your desires predatory, your worth tied to what you can provide, not who you are. This isn't an accident. It's a meticulously crafted system, one Schopenhauer foresaw with a prophet's vision. The system starts with psychology. The term emotional labor began as a feminist critique of unpaid domestic work, fair enough. But today, it's morphed into a weapon, used to guilt men into perpetual self-sacrifice. You're told to open up, to be vulnerable, to share your feelings. Sounds noble, right? But Schopenhauer exposed the brutal truth. Women despise weakness in men. A study in 2019, published in Social Psychological and Personality Science, confirmed this. When men express vulnerability, sadness, fear, insecurity, women see them as less attractive, less competent, less desirable as long-term partners. The researchers called it the weakness penalty. Schopenhauer, he called it the natural order. Meet Oliver, a 28-year-old software engineer. His girlfriend of 3 years begged him to share his deepest fears. So one night, trusting her completely, he opened up about his childhood trauma, the bullying, the loneliness, the nights he cried himself to sleep. She hugged him, said she loved him. 2 weeks later, she was gone. Her exact words, "I just don't see you as strong anymore. This isn't a one-off, it's the rule." Schopenhauer warned. A woman's love is conditional. A man's love is sacrificial. And sacrifice, when demanded, but never reciprocated, is just slavery by another name. If psychology is the velvet glove, the legal system is the iron fist. Schopenhauer wrote, "Marriage is a trap set for men by nature and perfected by society. Consider no-fault divorce, introduced in the 1970s under the guise of gender equality. It was sold as freedom for women trapped in unhappy marriages. But the data tells a different story. In the United States, women initiate 80% of divorces. When the wife earns more, the divorce rate jumps by 50%. Men lose half their assets on average and 80% of custody battles. This isn't equality, it's predation. Take Robert, a Florida surgeon. He worked 80-hour weeks to build his family's dream life. At 45, his college sweetheart filed for divorce. No infidelity, no abuse, just, "I'm not happy." The court awarded her the house, half his retirement, and $4,000 a month in alimony. Robert, now 62, lives in a studio apartment, still working because he can't afford to retire. Schopenhauer's verdict? The law assumes men are guilty of existing, and then there's social media, Instagram, TikTok, dating apps. These aren't platforms for connection, they're attention markets. Women auction their beauty. Men bid with validation, money, and dignity. Schopenhauer predicted this, too, writing, "The more choices a woman has, the less capable she is of love." Dating apps amplify this to the extreme. Take Jake, a 23-year-old college student. He matched with a girl on Tinder, spent weeks texting, took her on 3 expensive dates. Then she ghosted him. A month later, he saw her on Instagram, vacationing in Bali with a guy who drives a Lamborghini. Her caption, "Know your worth, Queens." This is the paradox of choice. Women, drowning in options, become incapable of genuine attachment. Men, starving for affection, become disposable. The silent holocaust. But the real prison isn't women, the law, or social media. It's something deeper, something Schopenhauer called the will, turned against itself. You've been brainwashed to worship your own chains. Right now, a silent holocaust is unfolding. Every 30 seconds, a man somewhere in the world takes his own life. In the West, 75% of suicides are male. Divorced men are 8 times more likely to kill themselves than their married counterparts. This isn't just a statistic, it's a ritual sacrifice, one Schopenhauer saw coming 2 centuries ago. He wrote, "The first 40 years of life give us the text. The next 30 supply the commentary upon it, showing how much we have misunderstood. Most men never make it to the commentary. Consider Marcus, a 32-year-old engineer. In 2018, he jumped from the 14th floor of his office building. His suicide note read, "I'm sorry I wasn't enough. Not smart enough for my father. Not strong enough for my wife. Not rich enough for society." What no one mentioned at his funeral, his wife had left him 6 months earlier, taking their daughter after a family court judge ruled he could only see her twice a month unless he increased his child support payments. The last photo on his phone? A Google search. How to disappear without debt collectors finding you. This isn't tragedy. It's systemic extermination. The 3 lies, keeping you chained. You were born into a world that hates you. From childhood, You were taught your instincts are dangerous, your ambition oppressive, your suffering deserved. But the cruelest trick, you were trained to enforce this system yourself. Schopenhauer called this the will turned against itself. A man who believes his oppression is justice becomes the perfect slave. Let's break down the 3 lies that keep you in chains. First, you're told love will save you. From Disney movies to romantic comedies, men are fed the myth that a woman's love is redemption. Schopenhauer dismantled this in The World as will and representation. Love promises salvation but delivers servitude. Look at Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, Germany's literary giant. At 23, he fell obsessively in love with Charlotte Buff, who was already engaged. His torment inspired The Sorrows of Young Werther, a novel so devastating it sparked a wave of copycat suicides across Europe. Goethe's later verdict: love is an ideal thing, marriage a real thing. A confusion of the real with the ideal never goes unpunished. Modern men haven't learned. They still chase the dopamine hit of a text message, mortgaging their futures for a fleeting illusion. Take Daniel, a 40-year-old teacher. He spent his 20s and 30s searching for the one, believing love would complete him. He married at 32, had 2 children, thought he'd won at life. But by 38, his wife grew distant, started fights over nothing. She filed for divorce, claiming she needed to find herself. Daniel lost his house, his savings, and only sees his kids every other weekend. Now, at 40, he's starting over, haunted by the question, was it all a lie? Schopenhauer's answer: yes. Love is nature's bait, and marriage is society's trap. The second lie is that your value is your utility. You matter only as a provider, a paycheck, a protector, a human shield. Schopenhauer saw this coming. Men are valued like tools, kept when useful, discarded when dull. In 2021, a social researcher conducted an experiment. He created 2 fake dating profiles. The first, Mark, 35, loves hiking, just got out of a relationship, figuring life out. The second, Mark, 35, chief financial officer, 6 feet 2 inches tall, owns a penthouse in Miami. The first profile got 3 matches in a week. The second, 147 matches in a single day. Women claim they want vulnerability, but their behavior screams, "What can you do for me?" Another example, Thomas, a 30-year-old carpenter. He dated a woman for 2 years, paying for dinners, vacations, even helping with her rent. She called him her rock, but when he lost his job during a recession, she left within a month, saying she needed someone who could keep up with her lifestyle. Schopenhauer's insight: men are conditioned to believe their worth lies in what they provide, not who they are. And when the utility runs dry, so does the affection. The third lie is that you are the problem. Therapy culture, self-help gurus, corporate HR departments, they all chant the same mantra: heal yourself. But this is a trap. Schopenhauer warned, to tell a man he's broken is to sell him unending repair. In 1980, 1 in 200 men took antidepressants. In 2024, it's 1 in 5. Has male happiness improved? Or has Big Pharma turned wounded men into permanent patients? Take Michael, a 45-year-old accountant. After his divorce, he sought therapy to fix himself. His therapist encouraged him to explore his emotions, to confront his toxic masculinity. 2 years and thousands of dollars later, he felt worse, more guilty, more inadequate. Schopenhauer's warning: the system profits by convincing you your pain is your fault. The truth: your pain is the system's design, the path to freedom, but there is a way out. It's not easy, and it demands courage. Schopenhauer called it the denial of the will, not suicide, but the murder of your illusions. It's time to break free. First, become ungovernable. Delete the dating apps. Opt out of marriages that are legalized slavery. Laugh when they call you toxic. Schopenhauer said, "The free man is he who does not fear being alone." Freedom begins when you stop seeking validation from a system rigged against you. Consider James, a 36-year-old mechanic. After 2 failed relationships, he swore off dating apps and focused on his passions, restoring vintage cars and hiking. For the first time in years, he felt alive. The world screamed, "Loner," but he heard, "Free." Next, weaponize your suffering. Every great man in history turned pain into power. Beethoven went deaf and composed his greatest symphonies. Nietzsche endured a decade of migraines and wrote, "Thus spoke Zarathustra." Van Gogh sold 1 painting in his lifetime, yet revolutionized art posthumously. Your suffering isn't weakness, it's fuel. Take Alex, a 29-year-old graphic designer. After a brutal breakup, he channeled his pain into art, creating a series of illustrations that went viral online. By 31, he had a thriving freelance career. Schopenhauer's lesson: your pain is raw material. Use it. Finally, play the long game. Modern society rewards female youth and male maturity. A woman's peak leverage is between 20 and 30. A man's 35 to 55. Schopenhauer said time humbles women and elevates men if they survive. Look at Hiroto, a Japanese salaryman fired at 40. Instead of despair, he spent 5 years mastering artificial intelligence programming. At 50, he was hired as a Silicon Valley consultant, earning triple his old salary, while his ex-wife, who left him for lacking ambition, worked retail. His secret: I stopped living on their clock. Another example, William, a 42-year-old electrician. After a divorce that cost him his house and half his savings, he invested in himself, learning real estate and starting a small rental business. By 50, he owned 3 properties and lived debt-free. His ex-wife, who remarried a younger man, reached out, asking for help. He politely declined. Schopenhauer's wisdom: time is your ally if you play it right. Schopenhauer's greatest insight wasn't about women, society, or even suffering. It was this: most men would rather die than think. And that's exactly what they're doing, dying in silence, crushed by a system they were taught to trust. But you're different. You're still here, still reading, still fighting. That means there's hope. This is your moment. Type "will" in the comments if Schopenhauer's truth hit you like a lightning bolt. If you felt that fire in your chest, that click in your mind. Don't stop now. Watch the next video to turn philosophy into power. Your freedom is waiting, but only if you seize it.